Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete for Anxiety here, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about again. Welcome in today's episode. Before we get started today, we need to cover a few things really quick. Let's talk about the Pete for Anxiety Patreon first off. It's only $1, guys. $1. What does $1 get you? $1 gets you into the exclusive episodes I am recording currently. I'm actually focusing on certain different diagnoses of things to show you guys what it actually looks like as it manifests in a person. So why not for $1, judges? Yeah, they said $1. I just checked with them too. See, they said it was okay. It was $1 anyways. Let's also talk about the Oracle Talk Radio Networks app. In case you can't be here live listening to me, watching this video, supporting the show, you can listen to it on the radio app. Why not? It connects us live to our 365 radio. Just go to your app stores and download the Oracle Talk Radio Network. You'll see the big old Oracle Talk Radio Network app logo right on there. Download it. It'll connect you to me, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, to Pete for Anxiety when I'm live doing my thing right here, informing the world and raising mental health awareness. So where are you going to be? 10 a.m. Of course. Come on. We just talked about this. Pay attention for once. Damn. Do y'all know how to listen? And as always, guys, like, follow, and share the YouTube channel. If you guys like what you're seeing, leave some comments, man. We want to know. I want to know if you like what we're doing. You want to be on the show? Let me know. Hit me up at PeteVersusAnxietyPod@gmail.com. And as always, guys, enjoy the show. And by the way, did I mention to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well? Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure because some of y'all are hard of hearing in the back, may have to yell louder or get a megaphone or something. But, anyways, let's get today's show started. Y'all have a great one. Enjoy. Welcome into another exciting episode of Pete versus Anxiety, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. My guest today is a special education teacher from New York City. She is a travel enthusiast who struggles with depression, suicidal thoughts due to a narcissistic individual. She's here to speak out. Her name is Haaj. Haaj, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks, Peter, for inviting me here.
Oh, it's awesome. I'm doing great. I'm glad you're here. Like I said, it's always nice to have another voice add to the conversation, especially special education, because you deal with a lot already as it is, especially with those special individuals.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got everything from up here to the most extreme to the lowest. It's great, I have to admit.
Oh, I bet it is. It's very rewarding. I bet it's very rewarding because, you can see these individuals when they flourish and everything like that. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about yourself? Give them a little backstory.
Sure. Well, I mean, Pete pretty much said most of it, but I'm 38 years old. I'm a special education teacher in New York City. I am diagnosed with depression. I am suicidal. However, in about 2 days, it's going to be 6 months since my last attempt. So I'm very proud about that. I'm hoping that it just goes from 6 months and beyond and it never happens again. It was stemmed due to, it was narcissism from an individual, but it also stems from some other stuff from my past due to, abuse, I'd say, like rage and such from, a brother when I was growing up. Other than that, I do love traveling. I'm going to Qatar and South Africa in 2 days. So that's going to be fun.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
I'm the type who just likes to joke and prank and have a good time. I wear my heart on my sleeve, so you might see me crying. So, be prepared, everyone. I know everyone's going to be like, but it's a Pisces thing. Yes, it is a Pisces thing also. We are very emotional. But other than that, you can ask whatever you want to, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Okay, so now you say suicidal thoughts. Like when you have these thoughts, what mindset are you in? I like to ask everybody when they mention that because it's always curious to see what their thoughts were, what was pushing them to that point. If you can tell us.
Oof, for me, I just get this like dread over me. Like over the weekend, I was at a conference for work. And I got a message from the narcissist about whether or not I was doing something to sabotage her job. It wasn't me. I don't know what was going on. I just said it wasn't me. And even though I'm not guilty, I just had this dread in me. Like, why do you think this way about me when you know I'm not capable of doing something like that? So all weekend, I've had these thoughts and these feelings of, wow, you really are such a horrible person. Look at what someone is thinking about you.
Yeah.
You really are worthless. Just these thoughts. And even though this was a conference, everyone was partying, having a good time at dinner. I just sat and I was like, miserable. My two friends were with me and they were like, what's wrong? What's going on? I didn't tell them. I just thought, why should I take that away from them? They're
Yeah.
here to have a good time. Let me deal with my own issues. And normally I am really good at hiding my feelings, but the fact that it was connected to this specific person, I was just like, man, you just ruined the one weekend I was looking so forward to.
Yeah.
So it was like just these thoughts, and it feels like my chest is like caving in, kind of like hard to breathe almost.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot to me. I usually just step out for a minute or two, just take a few deep breaths to help myself. But that's really most of it.
Yeah. So my question for you to follow with that is, so your friends, do you ever tell your friends about your thoughts? Is it more because like, do you think they won't understand it, or do you think they're going to overreact?
Oh, my friends, including the two that were with me, they know about the whole situation.
Oh, okay.
They do know about it. And that's why when they saw I was not acting like myself, even though they knew I was looking forward to this like all week, they were like, what's going on? And I didn't want to take that away from them. So it's
Yeah.
not fair that and this is like a cliche thing for a lot of people with depression, they don't want to burden you with our problems. So that's why I was like, don't worry about it. I'm okay. Just something happened on Friday. It's all good now. But they know. They've
Yeah.
been helpful with me since day one. They've always been supportive of me. They've always given me that hard truth, things like you don't want to hear, but you have to hear.
Yeah.
But no, they know all about all of this stuff, and they're really great.
They sound like great friends, actually. I mean, especially the ones that are going to be honest with you and tell you the truth as you want it, even sometimes when you don't want to hear it, which is always good to have, because a lot of people don't unfortunately have that system in place, or they don't have those kind of friends, and they can't talk to people because a lot of times they won't understand exactly what you're dealing with.
Right.
Especially when it comes to narcissistic people too, and all the tendencies they have and all that stuff that goes with it. And it's just crazy, that's you have to deal with it on a daily basis. And this person obviously affects you really bad, because for it to cause those kind of thoughts to happen, it's just crazy, because it's like they get off on it. It's like a sense of like rush for them when they do those kind of things to people. I dealt with a narcissistic person for 15 years, man. My ex was very narcissistic. She always liked to manipulate every situation and make it seem like I'm the one that was the problem. So she liked to gaslight me as well, because she'd be like, oh yeah, well, it's all your fault. And then get mad at me when I get mad because she's saying something to me I don't like. And I'm like, instead of asking questions, she just gets more mad and goes, oh, look, see, she's acting crazy. I'm like, but am I acting crazy though? I mean, I'm telling
No,
you how I feel
of
about it,
course not. It's like, how much more can you poke me until I finally say, all right, enough is enough?
Exactly. And I think that's what's going to take those. It's hard when you deal with those type of people, because you're trying to break free of their grip. But it seems like they've got a grip, man. And you'll get it though. I think with your friends, you'll get there though, because they sound like real stand-up people, and they can tell when they can read the situation. Most people can't though. I know a lot of people in situations don't understand that thing, don't watch people withdraw, don't notice these things, and then unfortunately they become a statistic of that we don't want. We want the better statistics, obviously. So that's why this whole podcast even exists, is we're trying to create these conversations that people don't want to have. Like, they don't know enough about these things. And as we know, people, when you don't know things, people get upset and go, oh no, that's crazy. Or they just going straight to normal, because they're like, well, I don't know anything about it. Okay, so then ask questions. It doesn't hurt to talk to your friends about these things.
Right.
So when you talk to your friends about it, was it new from at first? At first, when you started telling them about this, how did they react? Were they kind of standoffish a little bit?
When I first told them about this, or like when
Yeah, when you first started telling them about the situation itself.
oh, they were so supportive, because like I said, I cry so much all the time.
Yeah.
So as soon as they saw that I was crying, they were like, okay, something's not right. Because prior to this, I've always been like this bubbly person at work. Like, everyone who would see me at work, or even outside of school, my own school friends from childhood, they knew that I was the type who was always smiling, always laughing, joking, bubbly. Just nothing really would bother me much.
Yeah.
So now when they saw, like, okay, something is going on because you're crying way too much. And all of last year, when I was dealing with this, the depression and the narcissistic abuse, I lost a lot of weight, like, I don't know, about 30 pounds in about a month and a half or so. And they would see me in the hallways at work, looking miserable. Like I never used to look miserable. I would always be happy because I love my students. I love my job. I love being where I am.
Yeah.
But they were like, why is she looking so miserable and so like down? She's never like this. And that's when my friends were like, okay, what's going on? Like this is not you that we've known for 10, 11, 12 years. Something is not right. When
Yeah.
I spoke to them about it, that's when I told them everything. And they're like, yeah, now we understand what's going on because this is like, what do you call it? This is like a trauma bond thing that you're doing. You're just, you want it, even though you don't want it.
Yeah.
And this is explaining why you're always crying. They were supportive. They were saying you need to block this person, you need to do this, we'll support you, we'll help you with anything. Screw this person. It's not a you problem, it's a them problem because you know what you want. You know
Yeah.
what you want to do. You're not doing anything terrible, like you're not being malicious or anything, but if they're going to view it that way, then they have deeper issues than you think.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm looking up narcissistic abuse right now, and it says number one, manipulation and control, which basically feels like what you're basically saying right now.
Hmm.
Is basically what's happening in this situation. They're sitting there saying that they're basically making you feel like you're the one that's causing all these problems when nothing's happening.
Hmm. Hmm.
Would you say there's a cycle of abuse that happens though?
With this specific person, there
Yeah,
was.
with that person. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yes, there definitely was. Because
yeah.
anytime that, sorry to interrupt,
No, you're fine. Go ahead. You're doing great. You're good.
anytime there was like some sort of a strange attitude towards this person, or maybe just like maybe they looked at them the wrong way or anything like that, they were like, did you tell that person the little secret that I told you? And I'd be like, I didn't say anything.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
maybe this person just had a bad day. Maybe they just had a bad moment 10 minutes ago. Like, people just sometimes are off. They have off days.
Yeah.
And like, you can't just assume and be that paranoid into thinking that the secret that you trusted me with, I went and told everyone.
Yeah.
And okay, so and so didn't say hi to you in the morning. That's not my problem. Maybe they just didn't feel like saying hi. This one was being rude to me. I
Yeah.
don't know. Either maybe you did something, or maybe they just had it up to here today with all the work that they had to do. So that doesn't mean that I did anything. It just means they had their own issues, and they unfortunately they probably just put it on you.
Yeah. That's crazy though, because I don't think a lot of people realize that when they're dealing with something that's narcissistic, though, things like that, and it's stuff like that. And it's hard. Like I can tell you now, I was there for 15 years dealing with, and
Mhm.
especially worse when it's a loved one and it's somebody really close to you too, because it's like you're getting mixed signals the whole time the conversation's happening, because you're like, oh shit. And then they'll turn around and say, oh, they'll just start showing all this affection and try and get you to come back in once they know that you're trying to reel away. Then they
Mhm.
try to draw you back in. And it's horrible because a lot of people don't realize that's what's going on.
Mhm.
And for so long, I didn't either. I was just gone. Like I was so bad. I had real bad rage issues and things like that. It really didn't help because I was dealing with other issues on top of whatever I'm already dealing with now. And it was like, they play on those ideas. And when it comes to that, you got to be careful because you start feeding them certain things, and then they're like, oh, they're getting it, they're loving it, and they're just going to keep going and keep cycling with you. It's like I just asked you about, because it was a
Mhm.
vicious cycle for me too, because she'd be real affectionate at one time and then come back around, and that'd be that real nasty part come out again. And she just, it's like she had a plan to try and get me upset, so I tell her to leave the house, basically, essentially, because she knew I'd stay at home because we had kids involved. And it's even worse. When you got kids involved, it's even worse because now
Oh
you got
yeah.
now you got little ones that are watching this all happen around them, and they're watching these things. And as I learned through this podcast, is that kids learn everything we do. They're watching constantly. They may not completely understand what's going on in front of them,
Oh,
but
but
they
they
are
absorb
watching.
that really fast. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they do for sure. And as a teacher, you would know that too. A lot of
100%.
these things
Yeah.
don't make much sense. And it's even worse. It's because then they start to think that that's how a relationship should go, and how you should
Mhm.
interact with people. And it's so bad, but at the same time, when you're trying to deal with it yourself, it's like you're not thinking about those other aspects of things going on around you in the household and stuff like that too. So, but yeah, I go phases of depression myself too. Like I saw that when you had put that in there, and I was like, yeah, when I have it, it's bad. Sometimes it's bad. It lasts like 2 weeks at a time sometimes. And like I get up, I still do this show, and nobody even knows that I struggle. Has some weeks
Mhm.
it's just rough. I get up, I record the show, and I come back and nobody even knows. So I don't tell people. If I tell anybody anything, it's usually because I tell them I'm busy. That's my biggest excuse. I'm busy because I'm doing the podcast and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, I'm busy. So I don't have to deal with people basically love bombing me. I don't, I get people want to help. I get people want to say, hey, I'm understand where you're at. I get that. It's just like, yeah, I don't need all that sometimes. I just want to be left alone. I don't want to be
Hmm.
like told, oh, and, everybody like really sympathetic to me. I'm like, I'm not looking for sympathy right now. I just want to be, just me.
Right. Just like I need my little few minutes. I need a break. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. At least, and it's great when you talk to other people that understand these things because it's like it makes more sense for you and I. We get it. But other people on the
Mhm.
outside are like, they don't understand that it's like, you're a little too much. I understand you want to help, but you're just smothering me, man. Like I really appreciate you're trying to help, but you're not helping. Really
Mhm.
not.
No,
It-
I totally get that. Thankfully, I haven't had any of that.
yeah.
But I mean, there are times they're just like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" I'm like, "I promise,
Yeah.
everything is
It's,
fine. I promise. If anything is not going well, I will tell you."
yeah. You know what? You should ask your friends. Tell them to ask you how your mental health is and see how you respond. Like, think about this, okay? The
Mhm.
idea is that if you're asking somebody how your day is, you're given a chance to give a one-word answer. But if I say, "Hey, Haaj, how you doing? How's your mental health?" You had to
Mhm.
think about that answer before you even say
Right.
anything else. And that's
Yeah.
what I ask people all the time. And it throws people for a loop a lot of times because they're like, "Wait, what did he just say to me?" Because you
Mhm.
start to have to think about everything as you're going through these things.
That's actually a good thing. I'm going to say that to them next time. I'm like, just ask how my mental health is.
Yeah, just see what they respond. Ask them and see what they say. Because I have a lot
Mhm.
of people ask it too. They're like, "Oh yeah," because I heard Pete say it. Now I'm gonna ask them. So they'll go through to ask people and they'll tell them that. Well, Pete, my buddy Pete's the one that told me about it. I'm like, think about it though. Think about how deep of a question that is. If you ask that question, you're
True.
not given the chance to say a one word answer. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm okay," because you could ask me all day, "Hey, how you doing?" They're like,
Mhm.
"Okay."
Mhm.
And as I've worked enough customer service to know, once you ask people one word questions, don't give them the chance to respond back with one word answers. You got to give them
Right.
something that they got to reply to.
And especially something like that, it gives you that few minutes to self reflect and be like, well, let's see. 2 weeks ago, I was like this, I feel like this and that, and it's you need that. Sometimes you just need to sit and reflect back on the past, even 24 to 48 hours, to just be like, how was I feeling the past couple of days?
Right. Exactly.
And it's good. We need
So
it.
I'm looking at some statistics here for people that are narcissistic individuals. It says there's 0.05 to 5% people who probably suffer from what's called narcissistic personality disorder, making it likely that you will encounter some narcissistic disorder. So it's a possibility they may have just that there too, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing is, some of the tips it gives is like establish and maintain boundaries, don't react, insist on
Mm-hmm.
actions, not promises, avoid direct confrontations, things like that. Be respectful, at least. Obviously, be respectful because at the end of the day, be bigger than this person. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
most importantly, the last thing is take care of yourself. And like you've done, you've built a healthy relationship with the friends and stuff like that. You've got that
Mm-hmm.
are always looking out for you, which is great. Because a lot of people don't get that. Like I said, don't think you get that. Don't have anybody to go with, and that's the great thing about this show is that we're creating a safe space for people that can come in, talk about their problems, and talk about all the things they deal with every day, and understand that there's other people out there that may see this episode and go, well, hey, I could relate with her like that. Now I want to come share my story and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And it's very powerful, and I don't think people realize that just telling your story alone is gonna that alone will just be really effective for people.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm almost positive what I've been through. I'm sure there's at least 200, 300 others that have been through the same thing as me, maybe even worse. I'm probably just like nothing compared to the seriousness of other people who've gone through narcissistic abuse also.
I wouldn't look at it as nothing. I still think you should take it as a badge of honor that you're willing to come even share part of this with us. I mean, I know you probably don't want to give out all the details, which makes sense.
Hmm.
And I'm okay with that. Like I said, the great thing about this is a safe space. You can talk whatever you want.
Hmm.
And things like that. You can say whatever you want, but it's hard when it comes to those things because you get in that grip and it feels like they have a control over your life. Like, they say one thing and your whole weekend's just ruined, just like you were telling us, and it's the crazy part about it is that people don't get that unless you're dealing with that yourself, and like it's horrible because you read these things in textbooks. Okay, that's great, but when you're actually dealing with it in person, it's a whole nother ball game
It
compared to
really is.
You know what I'm saying? Like you could read everything in a book and learn in a book, but if you doing it actually practically is a whole nother story, you know? And
Mhm.
it's the crazy thing about mental health is not a lot of people talk about it. I don't think there's enough access to stuff for people to talk about these things. And a lot of people self-medicate and some people
Mhm.
untreated too. And then it just like appears to everybody else that they're just completely wacko and they're not. Or they hear the big words like they hear like schizophrenia and things like that and start panicking because they're like, oh, I watched, this movie the other day and this is what it was like. And it's not like that, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like media portrays it as one way when it's really not like that at all. Like depression. People used to think depression was like, oh, I'm always sad. I'm always going to be crying and everything. I've been depressed for God since I was like 15, 16 years old, and I'm 38
Hmm.
now. So like almost 20 years, I'd say. But it didn't get worse until very recently. So
Does yours have a name for it? Because there are four different kinds that I'm looking at right now on this side that say major depressive disorder, chronic depressive disorder, seasonal depression, or bipolar disorder is what they're putting it as under is depression.
interesting. Um, as of now, because I got diagnosed last year in April, I've been diagnosed with situational depression.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I'm on.
Do
I'm
you want to
doing.
go a little deeper into that? What that is for people? What they tell you exactly it is, so they have a little better idea what you're talking about.
So situational depression is more like the big traumatic event that happened to you. It could be anything from a death of someone, abuse of some kind, like relationship stuff, just a major thing that's happened to you that's causing the depression. For me, it is the narcissistic abuse. Another friend of mine who actually we were talking about the depression thing because I'm on medication now,
Yeah.
and he was telling me, "Oh, I'm also on Lexapro, which is an SSRI, an antidepressant." So
Hmm.
he was telling me that he was also diagnosed with situational depression because his pet died, and
Yeah.
he's had that pet for since he was like 4 years old or something like that, and he's now like 40 years old, 42 years old. So
Yeah.
that's basically like his own child in a way, if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
get that
for him,
completely.
he said, I was diagnosed with situational depression because I was so attached to my pet. And then the loss of it, it was like I lost my own child. And so he was diagnosed with that. He was on medication for about 2 years, he said, and then they slowly weaned him off.
Oh, it's good. At
So,
least there's an end game in sight for it for some people
mhm.
though.
Oh yeah. So situational depression just is like a major event that's causing you some sort of distress, whether it is losing a job, a death of someone close to you, um, some sort of an abuse thing that's happened. It could be anything. Even moving from one country to another could also be a big major a shift in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you always lived in America? I'm just since you said it, I'm gonna go right into that one. Let's ask
Mhm.
that question. Have you always been here? Were you
Yeah.
born in America?
Born and raised in New York City.
Were your parents born here too, or did they come from another country?
No, we're all Afghans. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
they came in the 80s when the Soviet invaded Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
They came in 82 and 84. So they got out before things got very serious.
Oh, damn. Then
Mhm.
they lucked out big time then because it got worse
Yeah.
after that by far.
Hmm.
Oh, that's so cool. Have you always been in New York? Is that been your base camp basically? Since that's a lot of people came through New York and things like that too, anyways.
Yeah, I've never left New York. I've been living here, and I honestly can't see myself living anywhere else. Everything is 24 hours here. You know, the buses, the trains are like right there. You can't. I mean, if I've been to like other parts where everything closes at 10 o'clock, and I'm
Yep.
like, what the heck kind of a place is this? I can't live. What if I
Yeah.
need to go to the pharmacy at midnight and I'm sick? I'm gonna be sick all night unless I go to like a CVS around the corner from my house.
We have some places here in Texas that are 24 hours. A lot of stuff used to be, but after COVID hit, it was brutal. It was
Ah,
brutal. I'm
yeah.
sure it was worse for you guys. So I know I
Oh,
had
oh
a
my God, yeah, we were like one of the biggest hubs that everyone heard about all over the world.
well, my guest I had last time I recorded last week, Jim, he and I were talking for a bit and he was telling me about how bad it was. And I'm just like, dude, you couldn't even imagine not even being there. like from what we saw in the news, I'm sure is nowhere near the scale of what it was as bad as it was, especially
Oh,
COVID, because a lot of times when well, actually when COVID happened, basically is when a lot of people's mental health issues started coming out too. They started realizing a
it
lot more
really
things,
was. Yeah.
because we're isolated, we're stuck with our thoughts, and then all these people with all these different thoughts will start racing, don't know what to do. And it's like you can't leave your house because
Hmm.
it's so bad, it's so dangerous to go out there, it's that's what they were telling us, and things like that. And it's crazy because you have access to the internet, and we know what happens when we get on the internet. You get on WebMD and you start diagnosing yourself,
Yep.
and God knows what's come up next after that one.
And then when you're on the internet, you start going through this rabbit hole, and then you're going from one thing to another, and then you're really driving yourself insane. See, now I understand why people who are in solitary confinement really do go insane. Because if you think about it, you're in this small room, or even if you're at your house, but still you're confined to this one place for so long. Like you said, it's only you and your thoughts. You can't go anywhere. You're
Yeah.
driving yourself insane with these thoughts now.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being in solitary confinement. I might go
Forget it.
crazy.
I'm
I
gonna
live
have to
like
like scratch, claw my way out of it.
gonna come in these drawings on the wall. It's gonna be like a regular Saw movie in there. You're just sitting there trying
Oh
to
my
figure out who
God,
to love.
yes.
It's just yeah. I
Here,
I prefer though.
I'll just Shawshank Redemption. It'll get like a poster, use like a spoon or
There you
something.
go, right? There you go. Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I don't like people really too much. I know it's gonna sound weird. I tell you this, I'll be to you. I just don't like people a lot because I've dealt with people one on one so many times. Like
Mhm.
you deal with so many people in customer service. It's just like, God, I hate people. And I know people laugh when I tell them that, but I'm like, you don't understand the things I deal with on a daily basis. Have you known any arguments I've gotten into over stupid things? And it's
It's
like, yeah,
true. It's true. It's like the most pettiest little thing. And I'm just like, are you really wasting your time wanting to argue over this? It's not even worth it. Like, dude, stop. You have one life. Go enjoy it. Stop arguing over something like a return that can't happen. All right, so sell it. There's a solution. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff I would see as I'm standing online waiting for like to buy something, and then people are arguing, oh, I can't refund it because they lost the receipt or whatever. And I'm just like, they're getting the manager involved, and I'm just like, oh God, are you serious?
yep,
Like, just
who
sell it.
cares?
Who cares, man? Find a solution. You may lose a couple of dollars, but is it really worth like arguing over stupid stuff like this? And is it really worth like giving someone a headache? That's another thing I can't stand. Why are
Yeah,
you giving
it's
someone a hard time? You're just making your own self look bad.
well, I agree. Thank you for being a protector of us people because trust me,
Oh, I'm
man,
sorry.
I deal with people sometimes. It's just like you're just like, oh God, is this a real conversation? Or they want to tell you how things work. It's like, do you work here? Because I said checked. I'm the one that's employed here. You're not. You can't tell me how these things work. Only
Mhm.
I know how these work. But hey, continue.
Right.
Please tell me how to do my job. I appreciate
Ugh,
it.
way too many know-it-alls nowadays.
God, yes, yes. I think every time I hear Mr. Know-It-All, I think of the Bullwinkle cartoons. Remember, he's like, he always had that character, Mr. Know-It-All, and I had to know every single thing. I'm like, yeah, here we go. That's what you're thinking the
I
whole
know,
time,
right? Like, oh, here we go again.
right?
Please
So,
tell me how to do my job the right way.
so you always wanted to do special education? I know it's a very specific field. So, is that
Mhm.
how you started
Mhm.
out? You wanted to do these things?
Yeah, honestly, I started as an assistant. So when you're an assistant, usually you start off with a student that has an IEP,
Mm-hmm.
which is an individualized educational plan, and so 9 times out of 10 they will be in a class that is special ed.
Yeah,
So I just love how the parents are very supportive most of the times. The kids do want to learn when they're in special ed, and they just like they have this warmth in them, I guess maybe because they kind of know they're different, but they don't know at the same time. But they just love you. They want to hug you, and just I guess it's because also outside of their parents, we are their second parents. We're their second home. So who's going to give them that much love and attention outside of the house? The teacher will.
yeah. Do
So
you run in? Let me ask you a question. If this is too
Mhm.
personal, let me know. Do you run into a lot of students that have mental health issues? So, like, they have a lot of rough home lives, and they come to school, and then you have to, you're hearing these things, and then does it trigger you? That's my second part of that question. Does it ever trigger you? Kind of like you got to take a step back and like, hold on, whoa, this is a little too much right now.
Uh, for this school that I'm in, there's not a lot of that, but my old school, it was like that.
Yeah.
We had, I don't want to go into too much details probably,
No,
but
you're good.
we've had things like divorced parents, and sometimes the day that the parent wasn't supposed to come pick them up, they would come, but then we'd have to call to just make sure that is it okay for the parent to come pick them up, because technically they're not supposed to come on this day.
Yeah.
And then there would be parents saying, why did my so-and-so pick them up? They weren't supposed to. We've had kids who were poor, unfortunately. Years ago, we've had students that did have some issues, some emotional disturbed issues. Sweetest kids, but you would see that they would break down and cry over the smallest thing. They weren't violent, thankfully. They were violent to
Yeah.
themselves. Like they would hurt themselves, like just like scratch themselves, kind of like self-harm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they wouldn't do anything to other people.
Oh,
But it
okay.
would be more like just scratching themselves or
Oh,
kind
they
of
cut
like
themselves kind of things. Like cut
I wouldn't
themselves.
say pulling their hair, because this particular one student had very short hair, but he would just like, ugh, like go like that, like kind of like squeeze his head. So
Yeah.
there were kids who had like mental health issues, but at that time we just really didn't know how to address it. Like, what exactly can you do? So
Yeah.
like now, almost 10 years later, we have so much more information, so much more help.
Yeah.
And it's gotten a lot better, which is why I'm saying now there's not much of that, because now we know what steps to take to help them before anything happens, like anything
Yeah.
that triggers them.
Well, it's good to hear though, because there's several guests I've had on before. There's a gentleman named Brian that I had. He's working on an app for students that are younger to help them regulate their feelings. And there's another
Mhm,
guy that I talked to named Leroy. He's in Canada. He has this book called And Breathe. And basically, what he's teaching these younger kids as five, he said about as young as 5 or 6, he talks to. He has them start to, breathe before they make decisions. So they get mad. He said, well, so what are you supposed to do? And a lot of them will tell you straight off the bat, oh, I should have just breathed before I made a decision. It's alarming because he's like 5 or 6. I'm like, 5 or 6? Like, damn, at 5 or 6, if you're already learning these things, like just think of the later on development this child's going to have, because now he has a better sense of how to handle situations better
mhm,
versus react like a lot of kids, just don't know what they're doing anyways. Obviously at that point they're not emotionally developed enough. But if we can teach them early on, like he's doing, it's crazy the things he's got going on, and he's a principal himself too. That was the real thing that got me. So now that you have a guy that's a principal, he has this technique that he's using with these younger kids, and he's teaching them how to regulate their feelings early on. And it's crazy to hear, but at the same time, it's so great to hear because we got to start
mhm,
younger with these kids.
mhm.
Because if we don't start teaching them now, like what are we teaching them later on? Because a lot of
Right.
them will start developing these things, and a lot of people still aren't educated enough to know enough about mental health that they know what to look for. Because a lot of these things go undiagnosed, and depending on what it is, it could either be bad or it could go really bad. And
Mhm.
and with especially with all the school shooting things going on too, everybody's first reaction is, oh, they have mental health. Are we sure that's the
So that's
case?
the thing.
Because
Like, is it? We need to do a much deeper dive to find out what exactly was the cause of it.
exactly. I think people are quick to judge it because they're like, "Oh no, he's not mentally stable." How do you know he's not mentally stable? That's my question,
Right.
and everybody else as you follow up.
Like, where's the documents? Where's the health records? I mean, I know there's HIPAA and everything, but still, I'm sure there's a way to find out like what exactly was the cause of all of this rage and anger for them to take lives.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the young man in Tennessee that I remember. That's the one that really stuck out to me. Is that the one where the parents knew, or the dad knew the kid was up to no good and still gave him a firearm. It's like, what are you thinking at that time, dude?
Right. Like,
Because
what are you
especially
doing?
especially the emotional trauma you're going to put all those kids through. And what do we have, like Sandy Hook, and then they had the one here
Hmm.
in Texas, that one in Texas where they had the one where they didn't feel like they reacted fast enough.
Hmm.
It's like there's too many questions nowadays of things, and it's just like it's just crazy because we have the most school shootings in the world.
And
And you
that's the
think,
scary thing. And this is America. People you are like, it's the country where you go to have that American dream. But like now, what is the American dream? It's scary.
mhm,
It's becoming scary.
it is. What is the American dream? That is a good
Mhm.
question nowadays because what do you have to look forward to? Well, the most likely a school shooting is going to happen. You're there now. The one thing you have to worry about is, A, is my kid going to be involved? Because every time you hear that, your senses kicks up because you're like, hold on, whoa, is that my kid? Is that my kid
Mhm.
involved? You know, because you don't know anything else. You just hear, oh, there's a shooting, especially when it's closer to you. Then you're just like, oh shit, your senses go off the chart. You're like, oh hell no, you know. And I know a lot of
Mhm.
them here in Texas started arming their teachers and things like that. Which I mean,
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. I mean, now if they properly train them all how to handle the firearm, okay, I get that. Maybe I haven't looked into enough to know enough about it, but I think
Mhm.
it's, you know, at this point, it's doing something rather than nothing at this point because if these
I get
individuals
it.
get in there, but
Yeah,
it's like,
because go ahead, go ahead.
but you might thought is that what if we get one of these gung ho guys that are just like ready to shoot anything moving? It's like, well, I think
Mhm.
they should be trained. It's a situational thing, not just
Right,
shoot
right.
person. You know, I get you protecting the students, but at the same time, let's not incite violence where we don't need to.
Exactly. There has to be that healthy balance also. Yeah.
Exactly. Here are some scary statistics for you, everyone that's listening. It says that 1 in 7 children, 3 to 17, currently have a diagnosed mental health or behavior condition. The most diagnosed ones are as follows: 10% of these children, and this is the majority of them based on what I'm looking at right now, have anxiety, are 3 to
Mhm.
17. I could just only imagine what those kids are
Oh,
dealing with,
yeah.
especially when it comes to anxiety, because I know how bad mine is, you know, and you've described it a little bit when you said your chest starts tightening up. That's kind of like I've had I don't know if it's a panic attack or anxiety attack. I couldn't tell you. I know it's one of those categories, but it feels like the worlds are closing in on you. It feels like the room is closing on you as well, and things like that. I can only imagine what a kid that young experiencing those things could be thinking what's going on.
Especially when they can't even verbalize it much, like how can a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old say my chest is tightening and closing in? That's
Yeah,
not easy to say. Like they might say something like my chest hurts, but that could mean anything to an adult. What does that mean? Is it your heart? Is it your lungs? Like is it your ribs? What happened?
exactly. So it's saying the second one says 7% of children from 3 to 17 deal with behavior disorders. I
Yep.
could see that, but are we? My question to that is: do I think we're misdiagnosing that a little bit? Because at that young age, how do we know for sure they're doing it? This my thoughts on it.
What was the age again? The minimum
They said 3 to 17.
for the behavioral one?
Mm-hmm.
3-year-old, possibly. I can see that because if they can't follow simple rules, then yeah. But 17-year-old, then something's not right.
Yeah,
Then
I get
that
the
you
older
haven't
kids.
put a plan in place.
I think with the younger kids, I think it's a little harder personally if you think about it, because you're not going to get
Yeah,
straight answers from them.
right, right. I think 3-year-old could be a little too young. I mean, but also you have to put into perspective. Are they exposed to other children or not? Like,
Mm,
are they in
good
preschool
point.
or
Good
not?
point.
Are they an only child, or have they always been isolated to just the parent and the child? So you also have to look at their history. Look at that. Why do they have this behavioral problem at age 3?
See, you were the perfect guest to talk to about this because you understand this, and I didn't even think about it from that perspective. See, so
Mhm.
look, this worked out really great. Okay, so some of the other ones they're talking about for would fall under that category would be ADHD,
Okay.
oppositional defiant disorder,
Hmm.
conductive disorder, and autism spectrum disorder.
Autism is very high.
Yeah,
It's the class that I have right now. Out of the 8 kids, 6 have autism. They range from literally nonverbal to where they need a device to talk to you
yeah.
to you wouldn't even know that they have autism. So that's how it is in my class.
Yeah, and you know it's interesting too because I know with nonverbal. I had a guest named David. His son was nonverbal for a while, and he had met this doctor in California that was teaching his son how to respond using like a stencil almost kind of thing with the letters on it. And he
Mhm,
went from not saying anything to basically, communicating with people, which was amazing because
mhm.
he said after the first session that he had seen with them that he had dramatic improvements right off the bat. But then when he tried to bring it to the school to tell them about it, the school didn't want anything to do with it.
Really?
Yeah, that's
I'm
that's the
surprised.
crazy part of that
You
conversation.
would
He
think
was
that
like,
they'd be more embracing about something like that, especially with how common autism is now. I think the statistic is what is it like now? 1 in every 100 something a child has autism.
I
It
believe
used
that.
to be back in my days when I was a kid, it was like 1 in 100,000 or something. But now it's so common that it's 1 in 110 kids or something like that.
Yeah. It's saying 6.1% of children in the U.S. are affected by disruptive behavior disorders, which include what is that, ODD and CD, which I've never heard anybody have those. I've never really experienced much of those, so I'm curious about those myself.
I've had
Um,
a student with ODD.
yeah, and what's it like though? I've never even heard of it until now, and I've learned new things as I go here, so I'm kind of curious about that one.
Me personally, I feel like ODD is more of a new thing. I personally think the kid is just spoiled, like to the point where the parents just don't know how to discipline the child and it just feeds them and gives them everything they want.
Yeah,
Because if you're thinking about it, when you're up, when if you're going to be defiant, it's because no, I don't want to do it. Well, I'm the parents. You have to do it. You know, and if you
sounds
don't
like
do it, you're not going to play on your iPad for 2 hours or whatever. You know.
exactly what it is.
So I
Hashing a
had-
hostile. It says according to the search engine, I'm using an AI search unit called Perplexity. Okay, so according to Perplexity, it says that exactly just what you said. It says that they're very hostile towards authority figures, while occasionally defiant in a normal defiance is usually normal in a kid. It's what it's saying, but it's
Mhm,
saying occurrence occasional defiance is normal in children. ODD involves persistent severe symptoms that interfere with the daily function at home, school, and social settings. So
mhm.
you're right about right what you said. Basically, is what it was like, and I think it's interesting because I didn't even know that. It says they get angry and irritable. Frequently loses their temper, has emotional outbursts, easily annoyed or touchy, often anger representation towards others. Let me see what else it says here. Actively refuse to comply with requests, just like you were saying. Intentionally annoys others and blames others for their own mistakes or misbehaviors. They're very vindictive, it says.
Mhm.
And it says the way to tell the difference between the two is the behavior is severe, frequent, and persistent over 6 months. The cause significant problems in relationships for school performance or social interactions is what it says listed here. And it says behaviors are better not explained by other conditions like mood disorders or ADHD, which is interesting because, like I said, I've never heard of it until I've looked this up and seen it.
Mhm.
But it's so similar, though, if you think about it, with a lot of kids, because a lot of people don't like to.
Right.
You can
That's
apply it to a lot of situations, though.
right, which is why I'm saying I wouldn't really diagnose it as ODD because if you're constantly giving to your own child, you're not teaching them any discipline. You're not teaching them the ramifications of what they're doing. They need to know that if mom and dad say no, the answer is no for a reason. Cry and stamp your feet all you want. I don't care. But they're saying it for a reason. Deal with it. You know? I've had a student, believe it or not, this student was so ODD that he controlled the house. He wouldn't let the parents sit on the couch. That's how bad it was.
Jesus.
I mean, you want to talk about ODD? You're the parents. Why are you letting your kid tell you you're not allowed to sit on the couch?
Yeah.
We bought the couch. Whenever you buy the couch with your own money, then you can tell me where to sit. But if that were my kid, I would be like, but I bought the couch. You're sitting on it. Don't tell me I can't sit on the couch. It's a couch.
Right. Exactly.
So
Okay. So,
that's how bad it was.
so I'm looking at some statistics here. It says 79 to 95% of autistic children have at least one co-occurring psychiatric disorder, such as anxiety, depression, or ADHD.
Hmm.
It says approximately 41 to 50% have two or more mental health conditions, which I could already see is that just being a lot for them already, already being autistic already, depending on which form they are, it's
Hmm.
going to be harder to tell what other thing they have underlining with it, because if they
Hmm.
can't tell you, then you don't know what to look
Thing.
for and those kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay. So it's saying anxiety disorder affects 39 to 50% of children with autism. God, those poor kids.
It's really bad. I mean, I feel like it's going to get worse and worse, but man,
It,
anxiety for like a 7-year-old, that shouldn't even be the case. Why would they be anxious? You know, I feel bad for them. I really do.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, that's the crazy part of it all is that them, especially having to do anxiety, is just insane. Let's see, autism. Sorry, I'm looking up something
No,
really
that's
fast.
okay.
I love this browser thing; it's so great. Someone told me about this.
What is this? I want to know. I want
It's
to get.
called Perplexity. You can add it to any web browser, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
like an AI feature. It basically searches up things for you, so I can look
Mhm.
up statistics right now with things and different things I'm looking at right now. It's really great. So The real interesting fact about autism, though, I'm looking at right now, it says girls might mask symptoms by mimicking peer behaviors or withdrawing from society. Boys
Hmm.
often display more often, no, sorry, overt repetitive behaviors and communication challenges, which is interesting because if they're masking at that young of age, that's scary though too. If you think about it, depending on what it is they're dealing with, because some of
Hmm.
that stuff left untreated just can get really bad really quick though.
Hmm.
And I think that's the other problem we have though is if we start teaching them at a young age how to identify certain things or just but if we as parents need to listen too, like as you said, a lot of times we think it's something else, and that's the hard part though, is when it comes to kids, it's like they give you so many different answers. It's like when you're asking them a question, they're not going to give you a straightforward answer. They never are. They're going to be like, oh, well, sure. Yeah. Why
That's
not?
it's like you have to like pull it out of them. Like, come on, give me some more. Tell me. That's how it is whenever I tutor this one boy. I'm like, how was school today? It was all right. I'm like, okay, well,
That
anything
was me.
interesting happen?
That
No.
was me.
I'm like, dude, nothing happened. Like, no one's hair caught on fire. He's like, no. Well, he also has a little bit of autism, so if you do sarcasm, he'll take it literally. So it was just funny. But I'm like, dude, tell me, is anything interesting? Like a fire drill, something. Work with me here.
Did somebody not listen? Oh
Exactly.
my God.
Anything. The teacher yells something out of the ordinary.
Okay. So here are the statistics according to what this is saying now. It's saying boys are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism than girls.
Yes.
That's that's to me is that's I mean that's crazy. I wonder why that is though, honestly. But it says about 4 in 100 boys and 1 in 100 girls have autism. So it's more likely that boys are going to be autistic than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But get ready for this one. The alarming stat is that what group of ethnicity do you think actually has the highest percentage? And there's two that are right up there, right? 1.1% is difference. According to this, it's saying that Asian or
Hispanics.
Pacific Islanders and Hispanics is number 2, actually, according to this list. It says blacks and then whites are the last one on the group, which is it's interesting to see the statistics of like how many people, what areas of the world
Mm-hmm.
you're getting a lot of these things from, and it's just like it's interesting to see though because we don't know enough. I mean, we're still learning things every day. I mean, we know a lot now, but it's saying actually
Mm-hmm.
basically 1 in 36 children in the United States have been identified with autism spectrum disorder.
Oh, 1 in 36. Okay, so it's even more lower than I thought. Because I remember 36. I just couldn't remember if it was 136. But yeah, still, that's
It's still
insane. One
it's
in
still a crazy
36.
number. It is. It's still a crazy number to think of, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's why we need to educate people more about autism itself, so they know
Mm-hmm.
how to better handle individuals with it. Because I think some people just see these things and they react in a bad manner, and it's just crazy.
It is. It's that stigma. They think, oh, they're autistic. They're going to be violent. They're going to be this. They're honestly, some of them are the sweetest kids ever. Like this one boy I have, he just laughs all day. He just wants to. He's like a teddy bear. He just wants to cuddle with you all day.
Hmm.
I love my little guy. And then there are some who are, they're sad because they want to say something, but they just can't even express it.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Yeah.
learned from one of my previous guests. He's got kids, 4 of them with autism. He said one of them has a sensory thing. He was telling me about these chew toys they have for kids with
Mhm.
autism, which is really crazy because I'm like I never knew anything about it. I was so fascinated. I was like, dude, tell me more. I'm like, I want to know more. Tell me all about this. I'm curious. He's like, yeah, they have these different items that look like different things that are made with like surgical rubber and things like that. They
Mhm.
use. And my wife knew a little bit about it too, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I didn't know
Yeah,
anything."
I have
But
some
continue.
also. I have it because one of the students that I have, she has a sensory thing, so she needs something always around her mouth, her oral. So we'll give her anything from chew toys to just like
I know it
candies
sounds
to
so wrong
crap.
when you say chew toys, though. Honestly, I'm
I
like
mean,
when
I really shouldn't say it like that. You're right.
but
Like
no, no,
oral
but it is,
oral sensation, like
but
an oral sensation.
it's actually what it is essentially in the end of the day. But it just sounds so messed up when you think about it. Because at first
Yeah,
I thought he was when he mentioned a chew toy, I thought he was talking about a dog. I'm like, oh, he's
right,
talking to the
right.
dog. He's like, no, I'm talking to my kid. I'm like, huh?
Right. You're just like, well, what does that mean? But like, this is the new norm now. When you think of chew toy, you're gonna, it's gonna probably be on the dictionary one of these days in the future because you know how the um,
Yeah,
language is always, what do you call it?
it's
Evolving.
constantly changing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna see eventually it's gonna say an oral sensation for the mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I first heard him say that, I wasn't sure, and I was curious at the same time. As soon as he said "kid," I'm like, "Kid, you got to tell me more. I'm interested now." And he went on to tell me about it. He was like, "Yeah, it's for that oral fixation thing." And I was like,
Mhm.
"That's interesting." I was so curious because he said "chew toy," and I was like, it threw me off for a minute. I was like, "Are you talking to the dog? Chew toy? Like, huh? I thought you were talking to the kid." He's like, "Yeah, I'm talking to my kid." And apparently, what he had told me though is he said that they all the different shapes and everything, but he was like, "Yeah," he goes, "Oh, you never heard of that before?" Dude, I have no idea what that is. Care to explain it to me? Because I'm always curious. I always want to know new things. Like, honestly, I'm always asking questions. Like, if you're not asking questions, what are you doing in the world
Well,
these
yeah,
days?
it's always good. You learn something new.
Exactly. So, alrighty. As we get ready to wrap up this episode, did you want to give any shout outs to anybody? You want to let people know where they can come find you? Is there any socials you want to plug for anybody? So, in the case you want to come give you some support and say, hey, we saw you on the show. Thank you for
Sure,
sharing your story.
sure. You can find me on Instagram. It's Instagram.com/Haji HAAJEE 86. Numbers 86. Just a shout out to
How about
uh,
shout out to those friends, those great friends you have?
oh
Let's give
man,
them a
there's
shout
too
out right
many to
here.
name. They know who they are. Marina, Mary,
So,
Irene, Tin, gosh, who else? Heather, all you girls, plus more, Jen, Simi, all you guys. Thank you always for being there for me. And big shout out to my two trainers who I never even got to discuss this with you, but when it comes to anxiety and depression and all that stuff, the gym does help a lot.
yeah.
So I go to the gym now. I'm boxing. I do weightlifting. So big shout out to Devante, who is my personal trainer, and Eric, who is my boxing trainer. You two guys have been there for me during my highs and lows. And honestly, I feel like there's a new me now thanks to you. So Devante and Eric at ProFit, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for changing my life around and just making me feel better every single day, anytime I walk into that gym.
Guys, I want to thank y'all too from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate y'all doing that for her. Trust me, I know what it's like. I deal with some of these things that she deals with. It's great to have that sense of place where you can go and you feel like you can let your emotions out and nobody's going to judge you. I love weightlifting myself personally. I love it. It's a great physical de-stressor for me. I get off,
Mhm.
because I work nights. So some nights I get off, I go home, I do a bunch of stuff, I go to the gym, all these things. And it helps. So, especially in those days when I'm feeling down and feel energized afterwards, you feel like you've accomplished something, and things like that. And it's great to have that emotional support system. So, thank you guys. I appreciate you being her support system because not a lot of people have that out there. You guys don't understand like what that means to people. As a person that deals with personal issues myself, and I have a support system, it's great. You guys, I don't even think you guys get enough thanks for what you do because I'm sure there's days where it's hard dealing with me or her and things like that. I get that, but you guys, thank you so much. I really do. I really appreciate when you hear someone has a good support system in place that these guys know, like, hey, something's going on. Hey, what's wrong? We appreciate you all asking how we're doing, and things like that. It really means the world to us. Guys, you know exactly where to find me. I'm Pete for Anxiety and pretty much everything. X all the way down to Instagram, to Facebook, TikTok. I'm everywhere. I'm like these everywhere you want me to be. And as always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can save somebody's life or hell. You can even save their day. I'm Pete for Anxiety, signing off saying, guys, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is.